It was the escalator ride that changed history. When Donald Trump began his journey from TV star to president. In this documentary, we'll retrace Donald Trump's rise to the presidency.
President Obama takes the microphone.
All right, everybody, please have a seat. Donald Trump is here tonight.
And proceeds to fillet Donald publicly.
No one is happier, no one is prouder to put this birth certificate matter to rest than the Donald. And that's because he can finally get back to focusing on the issues that matter. Like, did we fake the moon landing?
I was sitting 20 feet from him, and just the look of discomfort on his face.
What really happened in Roswell? And where are Big and Tupac?
Donald's face was so incredibly serious. It was so incredibly he just put on a poker face.
I was 2 tables away from Trump. The conventional way in Washington of absorbing a joke at the White House Correspondents' Dinner is to keep your chin up and at least pretend to have a sense of humor about it, even if you go cry into your pillow that night. Trump was steaming. His face was all locked in. He was not having a good time.
All kidding aside, obviously we all know about your credentials and breadth of experience. For example, seriously, just recently in an episode of Celebrity Apprentice, at the steakhouse, the men's cooking team did not impress the judges from Omaha Steaks. And there was a lot of blame to go around, but you, Mr. Trump, recognized that the real problem was a lack of leadership. And so ultimately you didn't blame Little John or Meatloaf. You fired Gary Busey. And these are the kind of decisions that would keep me up at night.
And he's being treated like a piñata by the President of the United States. And I think he felt humiliated.
Well handled, sir. Well handled.
But it just kept going, and he just kept hammering him. And I thought, oh, Barack Obama is starting something that I don't know if he'll be able to finish.
Say what you will about Mr. Trump. He certainly would bring some change to the White House. Let's see what we've got up there.
Donald dreads humiliation, and he dreads shame. And this is why he often attempts to humiliate and shame other people. So in the case of the president ridiculing him, I think this was intolerable for Donald Trump.
I think that is the night that he resolves to run for president. I think that he is kind of motivated by it. Maybe I'll just run. Maybe I'll show them all.
Every critic, every detractor will have to bow down to President Trump. It's everyone who's ever doubted Donald, whoever disagreed, whoever challenged him. It is the ultimate revenge to become the most powerful man in the universe.
God bless you, and may God bless the United States of America.
Donald Trump's fantasy is to be the guy who takes the key to the Oval Office from Barack Obama's hand in 2017.
Another controversial Republican disagrees, offering to work in a Trump administration.
If there were a call for me to offer more on a national stage, I would do it.
A Trump-Palin joint ticket? It's unlikely, but this look from Chris Christie last night had many questioning online whether he's having second thoughts about endorsing the frontrunner. Perhaps it was just a coincidence, but as Americans went to the polls yesterday, Google reported a 350% increase in people searching how to move to Canada. This Canadian's website urging Trump refugees to come to his hometown has 800,000 views in the past 2 weeks.
It's official. A roll call of states declared Donald Trump the Republican presidential candidate. His children were there to accept the nomination.
Congratulations, Dad, we love you!
About a third of Americans say they'll use the debates to decide who to eventually vote for. And round one is likely to draw a Super Bowl-sized audience. Around 100 million people are expected to tune in for the fireworks. Face to face in their first showdown, the candidates' smiles barely disguise their disdain.
Donald, it's good to be with you.
Secretary Clinton, yes. Is that okay? Good.
And who can be provoked by a tweet should not have his fingers anywhere near the nuclear.
One new poll has Hillary Clinton now 12 points ahead, prompting a rare admission from Camp Trump.
We are behind. She has some advantages, like $66 million in ad buys just in the month of September.
Some Republicans have lost hope he can claw back.
I don't see it happening. I mean, maybe it could.
I need to ask you what you think of Hillary Clinton.
I think my shirt says it all.
While the race is far from over, comedians are calling it.
Mr. Trump, it has become very clear that you're probably going to lose.
Correct.
While Trump's MAGA supporters were chanting to
I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the I can do anything.
But Republicans are in a civil war. Many today abandoned Trump, including Condoleezza Rice and former presidential candidate John McCain. Trump's own running mate, the deeply conservative Mike Pence, cancelled today's appearance, saying, "I do not condone his remarks and cannot defend them." The blistering takedown was going viral. Care of Robert De Niro.
He's a punk. He's a dog. He's a pig. He's a con, a artist, a mutt who doesn't know what he's talking about. He talks how he wants to punch people in the face. Well, I'd like to punch him in the face.
Vegas fight night usually begins with a touch of the gloves. These opponents couldn't muster a handshake. And the knockout came when Donald Trump refused to say he'll accept the election night result.
I will tell you at the time. I'll keep you in suspense.
He didn't get an Emmy for his TV program 3 years in a row, and he started tweeting that the Emmys were rigged.
Should have gotten it.
For a while, they debated substance.
It's typical Donald Trump, right? It wasn't about what he said, it was about the image. He was the aggressor. You know, a lot of people would say that he was doing exactly what he had done in his private life, treating women without respect. So while he didn't win that debate, he didn't lose it enough to lose ground in the election. And it didn't sink him, which just surprises so many.
A beaming Donald Trump with news so big he couldn't wait to tell supporters the FBI is investigating Hillary Clinton again.
And they are reopening the case into her criminal and illegal conduct.
A stunning campaign gift that no one saw coming.
This is the biggest political scandal since Watergate.
As they celebrated, Clinton was blindsided. In the air when the bombshell dropped, she landed with a plane full of reporters to a breaking disaster.
There, she rallied supporters, appearing almost flippant.
Some of you may have heard about a letter that the FBI director sent out yesterday.
But again, she demanded the FBI tell voters what it's found to prompt this explosive new investigation into her private email server, rattled by the timing.
It's not just strange, it's unprecedented, and it is deeply troubling.
The FBI boss, under fire from all sides, tried to explain his delicate decision to go public. He knew he ran a serious risk releasing this mid-election, but felt it would be misleading to the American people not to. Even the vice president has weighed in.
I think the quicker they release the emails for the public to see them, the better off. I have confidence in Hillary.
Over 3 rallies, Donald Trump stayed on auto cue. His campaign is determined not to let their candidate muddle this last-minute gift.
Hillary set up an illegal server for the obvious purpose of shielding her criminal conduct.
Donald Trump appealed to the disaffected Americans who thought that their great American dream had been forgotten and that their voice had been forgotten. We're talking about coal miners and factory workers and steel workers whose jobs had been lost in globalisation, their jobs had been sent overseas, and they felt like their voice had been forgotten. And Donald Trump really appealed to these mostly white, middle-class Americans, and especially in rural areas. He wasn't favoured in the elite in the capital cities. Donald Trump really appealed to the white, working-class people in the regions.
As Trump's votes climbed, the stock markets plunged.
This news that seems to be excellent for Donald Trump, Wall Street and the markets are very, very jittery.
Donald Trump watched it all from his golden tower, the city that never sleeps, wide awake, glued to this tight race.
Do you think Trump might be sitting in the Trump Tower right now saying,
what am I going to do now?
What do we do now?
Right.
Donald Trump had hired a very small venue in New York City, expecting to lose. And I think a lot of people thought, well, if nothing else, it's been great for his brand. Hillary Clinton, meanwhile, had hired this big venue in New York City, expecting a party. She would become the first female president. Very quickly, that party turned into supporters crying in their beer. And there are images of it being empty and streamers and, you know, their election campaign paraphernalia just strewn across an empty floor. Donald Trump was surprised that he'd won because the polls didn't show it.
A billionaire who became the voice for millions of working class Americans. That silent majority, not so quiet anymore. Over 17 months, Donald Trump changed the country. He connected with people who'd never listened to politicians before and built an army of fierce, fiery supporters, a movement felt around the world. 25-year-old Anthony Fogus flew from Melbourne to support the Don.
It's a political phenomenon that's going on around the world, and I think we're just jumping on to be here to support this event. It's a once-in-a-lifetime event.
A once-in-a-lifetime event many can't believe.
Face to face for the first time, reality TV star and his new reality.
Thank you very much, President Obama.
Donald Trump has become the apprentice in the Oval Office, preparing to receive the keys to the White House.
We talked about foreign policy, we talked about domestic policy.
Arriving in Washington on his private jet, dubbed Trump Force One rather than the traditional Air Force One, Mr. Trump was on his best behaviour.
I have great respect. The meeting lasted for almost an hour and a half, and it could have, as far as I'm concerned, it could have gone on for a lot longer.
Letting the man he'll soon replace take the lead.
We now are going to want to do everything we can to help you succeed, because if you succeed, then the country succeeds.
The civil display is sharply at odds with the pair's hostile past.
Obama is an incompetent.
I continue to believe Mr. Trump will not be president.
But today it was all smiles and handshakes.
Mr. President, it was a great honor being with you, and I look forward to being with you many, many more times.
The president even offering a tip on handling the media.
Don't answer questions when they just start.
It's always the last one.
But they're far from friends. Usually the President and First Lady pose with their successors outside the White House. Not today. The Trumps came in through the South Lawn entrance, avoiding the cameras and the President's staff. And Melania Trump and Michelle Obama had tea in private. Then another awkward meeting for the President-elect, talks with fellow Republican House Speaker Paul Ryan, who shunned Mr. Trump's campaign.
In fact, truthfully, we can't get started fast enough. And whether it's healthcare or immigration, so many different things.
Donald Trump declares he won't let voters down.
In his last big interview, President 44 agrees this transition is one of the strangest in history.
It's unusual. I'll agree with that. Don't underestimate the guy, because he's going to be 45th president of the United States.
States.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States. So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
In the drizzling rain, his first address was an assault on Washington.
January 20th, 2017 will be remembered as the day the people became the rulers of this nation again. We are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you.
In 17 minutes, he made it clear change starts now.
It's going to be only America first. America first.
The woman he bitterly defeated took a few deep breaths before listening to her once ruthless rival preach unity.
Black or brown or white, we all bleed the same red blood of patriots.
He promised to bring back jobs and keep America safe.
Radical Islamic terrorism, which we will eradicate completely from the face of the earth. I will fight for you with every breath in my body, and I will never, ever let you down.
With a pump of his fist, a new era began, and the old was happily ushered to a waiting flight out of Washington, D.C. America's unconventional candidate, famous for theatrics and tweets, is now its unpredictable leader. President Trump takes the reins of a bitterly divided country and joins world leaders uncertain of what he'll do next.
Together we will determine the course of America and the world for many, many years to come. This American carnage stops right here and stops right now.